Welcome to ChiroSphere, where we talk about all things chiropractic and some things, well, not so chiropractic. I'm Dr. Ray Foxworth, your host for ChiroSphere and CEO of ChiroHealth USA, the network that works for chiropractic. Today on ChiroSphere, we're excited to welcome Dr. Cory Frogley, a second-generation chiropractor, entrepreneur, and visionary in the profession. Growing up in a family deeply rooted in chiropractic, with his father serving as David Palmer's executive vice president, Dr. Frogley has carried forward a legacy of healing while forging his own path in innovation and practice growth. He's the CEO of Blue IQ and the Data Driven Practice, a groundbreaking software platform designed to help doctors grow their practices through data automation. As an author, speaker, and high performance coach, Dr. Frogley is passionate about equipping chiropractors with the tools to scale their influence, increase profitability, and create lasting impact. His mission is clear: empower chiropractors to evolve, reduce stress, and heal the world faster by transforming their practices from the inside out. Welcome, my friend.
So good to be with you, Dr. Ray. You have been such a visionary and leader in our profession, and it's such an honor to be on here with you.
Well, thank you, sir. The check is in the mail. So we have a similar background. We're both second generation chiropractors. So you have a deep ties to the profession history, not only yourself, but through your dad. How did that influence your decisions to kind of follow in their footsteps? Well, I mean, when did you know I'm going to become a chiropractor?
My goodness. Yeah. I mean, not only second generation with a dad that was, his middle name was chiropractic, I think, but being the youngest of 10 kids, right? Because if you remember my story, my mom was told she couldn't have any more children after just two, and her dream was to have 13 kids, a big family at least. I don't know why she picked 13, but she did. And so, with terrible health, right? Severe back pain, severe neuropathy into her legs, blinding headaches, her OB said, no more children. At best, you're going to be crippled in a wheelchair by your mid to late 20s, and you can't even take care of the two children that you have. Well, dad was a medic in World War II. And so when he got his master's in neurophysiology, he went into the FBI to save money for medical school. He was on that path to become a medical doctor. And thank goodness my mom did not take that diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis at face value. And this kind of plays into my whole really destiny of what I'm building, what I've become because of really their dedication to finding a solution, right? Not just an identity of a diagnosis. And that led them to a chiropractor. This is in the late 50s, Ray. So it wasn't super well known, but luckily they found a chiropractor in Kansas City where my dad was stationed. He was the very first one to x-ray my mom, diagnose her with the correct diagnosis of scoliosis, began treating her. Miraculous changes, right? Just the chiropractic miracle in its essence took place. And within a short period of time, she turned to dad and said, we need to try having another child. And so there's a pretty good gap between baby number two and baby number three, but baby number three came with no complications. I mean, my mom just did great. And that experience drove my dad up to Palmer College, where the chiropractor had gone himself. He enrolled, graduated just at the time that BJ died and David was taking over the school. And my dad was his first hire. He became a professor first and then David's executive vice president. But growing up in that family, you can imagine, like being the baby of 10, he had five by the time they graduated Palmer. And so there in Davenport, Iowa, I couldn't go anywhere, especially with my dad, without people stopping us and saying, Dr. Frogley, we love you. Thank you for changing my wife's life. Thank you for saving my child. Thank you, just on and on and on. So I kind of grew up with that um, chiropractic fame, right? That some of us develop with our patients, and recognizing that not only did I love that, but the question always came, what are you going to be when you grow up? It was always switched for me. It was never, what do you want to become? It was, are you going to be a chiropractor when you grow up? Because five out of my six brothers have become chiropractors.
Wow. That is quite a legacy. You know, when I think back to the years your dad decided to go to chiropractic college, I mean, you look at the contrast now. Um, you know, chiropractic has never been more accepted. It's never been more documented to be proved effective, cost effective. You know, all the things that we know that we've been talking about for years and years. But my gosh, the leap of faith that it had to take someone. Your dad's obviously a smart guy to really go against the grain of what was common thinking then and to enter into a profession that was way outside the norm. You know, and my mom graduated in 67
Wow.
and came to Mississippi where you couldn't even get a license to practice until 1973,
Oh my goodness.
which blows my mind as we sit here and chat about that. But you know, you really have to give the folks credit, especially those older generations that went into a profession where right out of the gate, we think our back is up against the wall, fooling with insurance companies and things like that, and they are to a certain extent. But my gosh, the level of commitment to become a chiropractor in those years really had to be strong, and it clearly has influenced you.
Well, these were the trailblazers, right, Ray? I mean, your mom, my dad, they were those ones that had now were able to stand on the shoulders of some of the greats that had been imprisoned and had been fighting. And David's great vision was to get us credentialed as doctors, to get, the education system in place and all of those things. And dad got to be a part of that. He flew around with David, and it was my dad, because of his neurophysiology degree, master's degree, that he was able to debate the medical doctors, the AMA, at their meetings
That's awesome.
in front of Congress. They lobbied together, and it was my dad that David would put up on stage to go against the medical doctors.
That's impressive. Took a lot of guts then. No
Yeah,
doubt about it.
yeah.
But what inspired you? I mean, you're in private practice, and at some point you decided to create Blue IQ. And first of all, tell us what Blue IQ is and how the data automation kind of changes the way that we might manage and use the data to grow our practice. Because let's face it, everybody thinks, oh, I need a big yellow page ad. I need to be all over social media. But, you know, what I learned in my last few years of practice, I used Blue IQ, and man, the insights that I got was like, wow, I didn't know all this information was in my software, and certainly didn't know how to use data. So, kind of give docs an overview of what Blue IQ is and how it does help them take that data and have a positive impact on their practice rather than just one more report or one more printout.
Yeah, I mean, I really do believe, Ray, that we're on the precipice of the golden age of chiropractic. What you're doing with all of your tools and the community that you're building. Um, I had an interesting journey following my dad. I was, I guess, really blessed with having him and my older brothers. That as I began to get ready for undergraduate school, I asked them. I said, "What undergrad degree should I get? Like, what classes should I take?" Because there's some leeway in which ones you can pick, what emphasis you want to get your degrees in, and they kept saying to me, "There's no business training in chiropractic school. You're not going to learn how to run a business. You're not going to learn how to hire anybody. You're not going to learn how to balance your books. You're not going to learn how to market." Take business school classes, and that shaped me, and even in my undergrad. And so we, when I got into um, opening up my practice, I had a huge blessing to work with one of my brothers. Coming out of school, and we went through a lot of business courses, and that was really my first exposure to this concept of data-driven decisions. And I was down this path after opening my practice and developing a marketing program called the Preferred Provider Network that, even David Singer had kind of laid some foundational, coaching with me in those early days. That I started working with a lot of dentists. I had developed some TMJ protocols and some holistic health stuff. I brought in a functional medicine doctor into my practice. And I started realizing that the dental profession was moving in a place of consolidation. And as I talked to more dentists and more dental consultants, I recognized that they were just behind the medical profession. The medical profession went through what we call consolidation. Consolidation is where you don't see very many private practices anymore in the medical space, and you're seeing fewer and fewer of them in the dental space. And we're starting to see that in chiropractic. We're about 10, 15 years behind the dental profession, which was 20 years behind the medical profession. And the reason why this is important, Ray, for our audience is your identity of being a chiropractor is very different than the identity of being a business owner. They're two different hats. They're very different roles. You and I were successful in practice, and a lot of the doctors listening to this are successful in practice because they're successful people, right? They're what we call driven. They're going to be successful no matter what business they go into. And then you have others that are incredible healers, but they struggle in practice. They struggle to get profitable. They struggle to build a team that supports them so they can become the beacon of health within their community. And it's just not their skill set. And I'm kind of frustrated with our profession that there's this perception that you have to do it all to be successful. And the crazy thing is mine and your success actually came from doing less. If I'm going to work with Ray Foxworth, you know that I have to go through 10 people to get to you because you have an amazing team supporting you. And that's what a lot of these docs have to realize, that either we have to build our own consolidation led by leaders like you, who we are building true healthcare centers led by people who know how to take business and expand it and put in healers, chiropractors that can profit share in that relationship. Blue IQ was born out of me building a practice that I ended up scaling to 42 employees. I never in a million years thought that I would do that or get there. Anybody listening to this podcast could do it, but it's just I learned some of those skill sets. I invested in myself to learn not just the healing skill sets of chiropractic. I learned the business acumen of making data-driven decisions, right? I didn't go off my gut. I didn't just wasn't desperate to hire somebody into a role, right? We had systems and processes that we put in place that were driven by data. And because there was nothing like that in our profession, I had to build it from scratch. And I was able to put together a system that's specific for chiropractors on knowing their numbers, which numbers to know, and what decisions
Amen.
need to be made by those.
Yeah. It is, that's kind of where we start with the docs that we do on board into ChiroHealth, is getting them to know their numbers. I mean, if you don't know it costs you $27.17 to deliver an adjustment, and you're signing contracts that pay you $20, guess what? You can't make that up in volume.
Oh,
It's a basic math problem, and I I have to tell you, that's the norm in the profession. And so, doctors, you remember reading, I'm sure you have, the book, The E-Myth.
oh yeah.
And one of the challenges for the entrepreneur, for the technician, and then I'm not degrading us by saying we're the technician, but we're the ones that deliver the actual treatment, the service, the adjustment. And you can be the best healer in the world, but if you can't run that business, you're going to crash and burn, and you will deprive the world of your ability to help them. And that
100%.
that that truly is frustrating to see. And while I know there's a lot of mixed emotion about consolidation of chiropractic and some of the franchise groups and things like that, the reality is, when I came out of school and when you did, we were entrepreneurs. We went out there, we killed it. We worked, I worked 6 days a week, sometimes six, from 7 in the morning till 7 in the evening. I was working way too hard, and I wasn't working smart enough. And the book, The E-Myth, really helped me begin to understand. So, wow, if I'm trying to do it all, I have a saying, I can do it all. I can do it all well, but I can't. I can do it all. I can do it all well, but I can't do it all at the same time. And when I hear doctors struggling, it's usually because they are trying to do it all, wear all the hats, working in areas that they really don't have the expertise in. They haven't had the training or the MBA, the business courses to help them. And that's why we saw such a blossom of practice consultants in the late 60s, 70s, and 80s. That you had to go somewhere to learn that stuff. And so the program that you put together kind of give me some insight as to before plugging in Blue IQ and after. What are the doctors specifically doing based on the data that has such a huge impact on their practice?
Yeah, let me just give you an example of a doctor that came on board about 5 months ago. Been out of school for 3 years, and actually had been through three coaching companies, including hiring for $60,000 a year an EOS integrator that
Wow.
didn't
Went
know
all in.
chiropractic, just showed up to meetings and applied quote unquote business principles. But he had spent well over $100,000 in coaching in 3 years to get here. And when I had a conversation with him, he was so frustrated because they would have a decent month and then they would just crash the next month, to the point where him and his wife was, helping run the business of the practice. They weren't taking any paycheck home. They were just covering overhead, and in some cases had to borrow money from his parents in order to pay the bills. Now, to me, that is the quintessential heartbreak story of our profession, because here's a well-trained chiropractor who is the gift of healing in his community, but he can't deliver the services at the volume he should be delivering them. And he was actually spending between $8,000 and $10,000 a month on marketing, because he just kept being told, you got to spend more. You got to spend money to make money. And this was all the information that he was getting. Well, we plugged in Blue IQ, and we just took a minute to analyze the data. And we were able to see exactly how much it was costing him to acquire a new patient. We were able to see what a new patient was worth, like how much money is going to come back into the practice within the first 30, 60, 90, and 120 days. Because in order for the practice to grow, you and I both know there's three ways to grow a practice, but you have to know those acquisition costs with patient coming in, and then the conversion rates through the sales process. We call it a sales process. It's a patient education process. It's just solving their problems. It's helping them really turn that switch on in their mind that, wow, there's an opportunity here to work with you as a physician that could be life changing. Well, by help taking this doc through 30 days of training to know his numbers in order to make data-driven decisions, Ray, they went from borrowing money from his parents to being able to move $60,000 into a savings account, pay back his parents, and even loan money to a brother-in-law who was struggling and needed a short-term loan.
So I've heard that saying, suffering sometimes is a choice. And if you're in that kind of situation, I'll tell you right out of the gate, I was there. I spent the first 6 months. I've been in school for so long with undergrad and then chiropractic. I spent the first 6 months because that became normal to me. I spent the first
Yeah.
6 months thinking about, geez, this is tough. How do I get back into school?
Yeah. Yeah. Student life wasn't so bad.
I hope a lot of doctors hear that message, because he didn't need the newest, the fanciest decompression. He didn't need to go multidisciplinary. He had what he needed right there. He just didn't know how to extract the information to help him make better decisions. And I mean, that is an awesome story, no doubt. So what do you think are the most common barriers that the average chiropractor has in running a profitable practice, and how do they overcome that?
Yeah, that's a powerful, powerful question, Ray, because when we go through school, I know for me, especially growing up with a dad, and in our day and time, chiropractic fixed everything. If I had a sports injury, I went to my dad. If I had a headache, I went to my dad. If my back was tweaked, I went to my dad, right? Chiropractic was amazing. Well, in today's world, and with all of the vaccine injuries, with all of the toxicities that we're being exposed to, with the travesty that's happening with health, it's becoming uh, a world, especially driven by AI, of content marketing, where there's so much confusion in the marketplace that when people are looking for help, they're not necessarily Googling chiropractic as much as how do I fix my back? How do I stop my headaches? Right? They become very condition specific. And so we encourage, chiropractors to really learn how to look at their marketing data and their message. You have to have a message market match. And understanding your identity as a chiropractor, that, like I mentioned before, doing less actually helps you make more. And so the marketing that you begin doing has to cut through the noise to get to the kind of people that you want to help. For instance, we had a chiropractor that is literally one of the best physicians I've seen. I mean, incredible diagnostician, an incredible healer, but same similar story as the chiropractor I was just sharing with you. Literally, one employee struggled to keep that employee, been through 2 or 3 employees over the last year, and was just left frustrated. Couldn't understand why he couldn't break $30,000 months. And we just looked at his identity. We looked at the data around his Facebook profile. We looked at the data around his Google Analytics. We looked at what it was. He wasn't really spending any money in marketing, but we looked at the data of the image imprint that he had created in the community. There was nothing where you could find what kind of conditions he was an expert at treating. So all we did was show him, hey, here's a message that if you would promote to your community could begin to identify with you that this is the condition, this is the expert in my area that I should be seeing for fill in the condition you want to be an expert for. We made that switch. All we did was we put up a Facebook banner on on his ad instead of just a logo of his practice. We just changed it to we help reverse disc herniation and heal sciatica, back pain, right? The common things that come with that. Within 30 days of starting to create content around that and starting to get engagement, he hired his second employee. He broke $45,000 that month and just created this transition of being very specific and communicating. And that's the power of data. You see, we're making decisions every day on what we should do for our practice. And a lot of times those are reactive decisions. Blue IQ helps you drive proactive decisions.
Yeah. I think one of the challenges that we have overall in the profession, and I go back to the college years, we were taught to do everything yourself. You do your own exams, your own X-rays, your own therapy. You kind of did it all, and so when you come out of school, you think, well, I've got to do it all. And I've jokingly said that to most chiropractors, the DC after the name could stand for Doctor of Creativity. If we don't know how to do something, we just make stuff up.
Make it up.
And social media marketing, as you well know, it's an art and a science and luck. Sometimes you can eliminate the luck piece if you're looking at the data and seeing what messages you're putting out there and which ones are actually driving patients into your office. So I know I see you everywhere on Facebook. Love your marketing that you're doing, and some of the profiles of the doctors that are shared in that. They truly are high performance doctors. Um, what mindset shifts do you see that are essential for doctors to thrive both personally and professionally? Because I remember years ago hearing Larry Markson say, "Success, it's all in your head."
A
And, nice little title, but man, there's a lot of truth there.
lot of truth there. Let me share with your audience something that I think is one of the most valuable things that helped me transition from doing it all to overseeing it all. And it's this concept of the way you do one thing is the way you do everything.
Everything. Yes.
That goes right with what you were just sharing. I realized that I was a little bit of a control freak
I
early
call
on
it
in my
control. Yeah,
practice.
I call it control enthusiast.
Yeah, I was a cheerleader for that. The phones had to be answered a certain way, right? I had to adjust the patient a very certain way. Like I got into this pattern. Well, again, hiring mentors and being around incredible leaders in our profession shined a light on that. And the biggest transition that I made was this culture of accountability. I wasn't being accountable to anybody in my practice but myself, and I wasn't really doing a good job of reporting to myself, of identifying where do I want to take this practice? What do I want to become known for? And I, I noticed there's a pattern in our profession that when you build a team, whether you have one, two, three, five, 10 team members, that there's this, a lot of coaching and consulting out there that everybody does everything. It's the concept of cross training, which is vital. But the problem with no clear responsibilities and clear data to report on, we have a jack of all trades, masters of none. When I transformed my practice from what we called everybody does everything. If the phone rang, the closest person pick it up, or if somebody's on therapy and something rings, go get them off. Cross training is really important, but what was more important and what again completely took me from about 6 to 7 employees and skyrocketed me to 20 employees because of the growth of the practice was moving team members to what we call system drivers. And a system driver is where you have the marketing system, right? You have the front desk new patient system. You have the examined case acceptance system. You have the front desk established patient system. You have the treatment system. You have the billing system, financial system, right? All of these need an expert. And when I started hiring people for those roles that actually had more expertise in that role than me, and I could train them, I could get access to training from great consultants that I could give them to improve their skill set. When they started becoming experts, and then, Ray, I gave them a tool to measure their output. No different than what we do with a patient. You have progress exams because you got to measure. Well, what's your measuring tool for your team so that they can see their performance? And when we put in a gamification, a performance mechanism into the practice, the team member was able to start self correcting. And when they did that, and I didn't have to step in and be the control freak, when they showed up to team meeting with their metrics now growing and moving in the right direction and problem solving themselves, all of a sudden I found time on my hands. I was like, oh my gosh, I can treat more patients, or I can now go out and market more, or I can build another service center within my practice. I actually had time to expand the business because my team was performance based, and those system drivers changed everything for me.
Yeah. I recently read something. If you want people to take responsibility, give it to them.
like,
And
like
so
give it to them. Don't give
yeah,
it to them and hang on to the
yeah,
stick.
yeah, give it to them and let them own it. Otherwise, I got a lot of favorite sayings. When I hire someone to do something around my house and there's 2 or 3 contractors involved, it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I want one soul to bless and one ass to kick. That's
Exactly.
that's that. But that really is giving a person the responsibility over whatever area they're in. And let's face it, the average person doesn't like to fail, and they don't like the way that feels. People love the pats on the back, the kudos, the good job. And when they're in control of that, instead of saying, oh, it's Dr. Frogley, or it's, we don't have the best software, we don't have that. That's not ownership. That's placing blame. That's placing blame externally. But when when you tell someone you are responsible for the reactivations, the number of reactivations, this is our number we would like to hit. Where are we on that? And they're able to report. on a regular basis, it just has a huge impact. I remember years ago, we would run our month end report. How many visits, how many new patients, what services were collections. This is the same old data everybody's collecting your PVA. And if we had a bad month, you know what we could do about it? Not a damn thing,
Nothing.
because we're managing the practice in a rearview mirror. When I started looking at those things daily, then if we saw we were on a downtrend, then you can start doing things, getting back to your basics. And so then the worst thing that would happen is you might have a bad week, but you didn't have a bad month. You might have a down 2 weeks, but you put forth the effort to get it back up. And the more of those things that you do to consistently keep it on track are game changers. And so, if docs aren't looking at their data at the end of every day, you don't know if you need a course correction or not. If you're waiting until the end of the month to get your report card, you say, oops, I made an F this month. Can't do anything about it. It's just, we got to be more forward thinking about looking at our data and using it to help not make decisions for the long term, but literally day to day.
Yeah, I'm going to go one step beyond that, Ray, because that is such a powerful point, and say that it's not the doctor that needs to look at their data daily, it's the team.
Exactly. Well,
Right?
and I meant that, meaning if they own that number.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly right.
if
And
it's
and the,
we need to oversee it, but
yeah,
we got to have them own it, look at it, and analyze it, and come to us with what they're going to do as a solution.
yeah, I've created what's called the driven operating system as a companion to Blue IQ of the actual. So you heard me talk about that doctor who hired an integrator with EOS and spent $60,000 a year on that integrator. I built for our profession now the DOS, the driven operating system. And driven stands for you got to know your data, you got to know who's responsible for it, and then how to ignite growth through finding what we call the prime mover. And the prime mover is the one process that if you would fix in your practice, it would get you to the next level of growth instead of trying to fix everything at once. We break it down to that single one, and that's the I in igniting growth and driven. And then we look at the V, right? This is the value of your time. And I found that I actually was more valuable out promoting my practice and turning over some of the treatment to some really good associate docs, that I built a value ladder in my practice, and and really let the team begin more on the fulfillment while I was out expanding the demand for the services. Right? Where you got to protect your team's time, and that value of time becomes really important. And the E is the effective meeting cadence. How often do we look at the data? How often do we talk about it? And then the N is never let your team be blind to their data again. Be committed to the team scoreboard that Blue IQ has. And it's that driven operating system that is just transforming practices' lives left and right, and allowing these I would say doctorpreneurial doctors out there that want to grow bigger practices. They want to open up more locations to do it the right way. Because I see so many of them they learned how to be successful if they're in the driver's seat seeing patients. But the second they open up a satellite clinic, or the second they hire the associate and put them, things start to fall apart. And this changes all of that, because it's a clear system on how to put the right pieces in the right sequence in order for you to expand healthy and create that impact in your community with
Got to be able to scale, man. Got to be able to scale. Hang tight, everyone, while we take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. Welcome back to our podcast with Dr. Cory Frogley. We're having a great chat here. I hope everybody's enjoying it. So we'll keep on with our questions. Learning a lot of good stuff. For chiropractors who aren't numbers people, and let's just face it, some people, they just aren't numbers people. How do you help them embrace metrics and see the value for their daily decision making? Or is it sometimes best not to have the doctor do that, but someone else who's better with numbers?
I just had a conversation yesterday with a doc who they're doing 1.4 million a year, Ray, doing really well. This doctor is willing to work 6 days a week, willing to put in the time, an incredible salesmanship. He can help a patient go through the journey of, I don't know if this is for me, to I'm definitely sure this is for me. But he couldn't scale beyond himself. And he had an opportunity to, from an outside investor who saw the success of what he was having, say, hey, I'll give you $300,000 to open up a second location or to acquire a second location. Like, let me invest in you. And it scared him to death because he said, I've adopted your system, but I'm going to be honest with you, Cory. I'm kind of drowning in the numbers. I'm not quite sure like what's the step-by-step playbook to go from A to Z. And I said, well, guess what? We've built the playbooks. And I opened up one of our playbooks, which is what's called your operator's value ladder. For doctors who don't like the numbers or get lost in the numbers, they have to realize that it's because their unique DNA leadership skill is visionary. They can see the growth. They're really good at communicating the growth, but they're not great at operations. So every practice in its early stages needs to start grooming a team member to be an integrator. And an integrator is a full-time position at a front desk team member or billing, manager or case manager. They have a full-time role, but then they have a part-time role in assisting in operations. And that's where they love numbers. They can't wait to see the numbers. They geek out over the numbers. They're organized. They love organized. And we have a certification course for office managers where they can, as the practice grows and you start adding more team members, that team member actually starts transitioning from an integrator to an office manager. And an office manager's role, their number one role is to build team, but also be the tip of the spear in your hiring roadmap. So if you're going to add, let's say a front desk new patient team member, you're busy enough where you now need 2 front desk team members, or maybe you're adding a case manager. That's the person that's going to go fill that role, help you build out the systems for that role, dial in the delivery, the metrics, the processes around that role, and then they hire themselves out. They delegate it, they hand it off, and now they're going on to, again, coach and grow the practice. That's a real office manager. This guy wanted to acquire a second practice. And I said, number one, you're not out of patient care yet. And number two, you don't even have an integrator, let alone an office manager, let alone a operator. A director of operations is what you now have to have in order to open up multiple locations. So if you don't love the numbers, that's okay. Like build your superpowers, but you have to learn how to what we call find, hire, and lead your operator. And that operator has those 3 positions: integrator, office manager, director of operations.
Yeah. We could talk for hours about that. It's interesting having read the E-Myth, and our company is run on the traction model for
Yeah. Love
10
that.
years now. Best damn decision I ever made in my life. I didn't pay $60,000 for it when we started out, but the model, that model is so solid that you can be I jokingly say, I'm the visionary of our company. The problem with a visionary is that we don't know if it's an hallucination or not. And if
Yeah.
you've got a good integrator, they can tell you, Doc, that sounds like a good idea, but here's what all has to occur. And I've got a wonderful integrator in our company, Diane, and she keeps the trains running on time. I don't have to worry about those things, and she does take full ownership. And it's just, it is so important to have a process. You know, if you went to your favorite restaurant and you had the perfect steak and you came back a week later and it was horrible because there's a different cook in the kitchen using a different recipe, you can't scale that restaurant. It's too daggum unpredictable. And McDonald's food is not the best in the world, but at least you know what you're getting in a Big Mac.
Predictable.
It doesn't matter whether you're here or in China.
Yeah.
It is consistently not good,
It's
but it's
consistently what it
consistent.
is.
No. So what do you see as we've talked about like where your dad was, where things are now for chiropractic. And every time I get a chance to talk to students, I tell them, and it's the same year over year. There's never been a better time to be in chiropractic. What do you see as the greatest opportunities for chiropractors over the next, say, 5 to 10 years? Where do you see us as a profession?
As I mentioned to you, this is the golden age, Ray. This is where we need you doctors out there that find themselves with an itch they can't scratch because you still don't feel like you've reached your potential. And those are the doctorpreneurs. We need you. We need you learning these skill sets to expand the chiropractic business side of things and to understand the multi-location model. It's really hard to scale a $3 to $5 million practice, but it's a lot easier to scale an 800 to $1 million a year practice because you're identifying your model. You identify how to replicate it. You learn how to build the systems. So with Blue IQ and the data driven practice are the systems that drive the decision making. It's the personality profile testing that we do with the right team members to fill the right roles, with the right ads and the right interview questions and the right training systems to get them to consistently produce the product of the role that they're hired to produce. If we can take one doctorpreneur who's super successful in building a practice and teach them how to go replicate that into 5, 10, 30 practices, now we're impacting communities. Now we're getting, instead of whatever the number is today, Ray, it's what, 9 to 15% of the population is under chiropractic care. Now we've got a bigger footprint, more access. And so, I cheer on our multi-location models that are out there because it's giving access, even if it's at different levels of access, right? That's needed. In every profession, you have different levels of dentistry, different levels of medical doctors, different levels of veterinarians. That's fantastic. You as a doctorpreneur decide what is the level of healthcare you want to create for your community. How does chiropractic fit into that? And let's go scale that so as many people can gain access to true healthcare. And with AI and with all the technology that we're building in my community, oh my gosh, the tools have never been better.
Yeah. I'll share this quick story with you. When I came into practice in Mississippi, came in '85. We didn't license chiropractors until '73. And if you asked somebody who their chiropractor was, they looked at you like you're strange. It's like, what do
Yeah.
you mean? I don't go to a chiropractor.
Yeah.
My best friend going through, one of my best friends going through chiropractic college goes to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And within a year, I mean, he's blowing the doors off. Guess what? There's 60 other chiropractors probably on the same thoroughfare.
Yeah.
And when I hear doctors say, "Oh, the joint's coming to town," or "This is coming to town," or "This clinic is opening up here," that's my competition. I try to tell them we don't have competition among each other. What we have is a problem with the people knowing what we can do to help them. And interestingly enough, most of the chiropractors in Tulsa were fabulously successful. In Mississippi, a lot of them were struggling. Why? Because there wasn't enough density of chiropractors to really be getting the word out. And
Mhm.
you ask somebody in Tulsa, who's your chiropractor? They would name them. You ask them here, it's like, are you crazy? So we didn't have the market share. And, and, and so, it's easy for me to say because I'm not practicing now, but don't look at someone opening up as your competition. There are enough people, we don't need to be fighting over the same 10%. We need to be fighting for the 90% that aren't coming to see us. And
That's
so instead of looking at that as competition, go knock on their door and say, hey, what can we do to raise the visibility and the acceptance of chiropractic in our community? And now you work together and you're building a team. And the old saying, a rising tide raises all boats.
Amen. Yeah, I don't care if you are a high volume practice. I don't care if you're interdisciplinary practice. I don't care if you're a decompression specialist. I don't care if you're a soft wave clinic. You have to know your numbers in order to grow your numbers. And if you're going to grow your impact on your population, message market match, understanding what you can afford to spend to acquire a new patient, how to treatment plan, how to communicate with the patient to have high patient success rate, getting through that treatment plan and having great case management is, it's just, I want to see our profession move towards excellence to do that.
Agree. So, what events do you have coming up, and where can docs go to find out more information? And I also understand you might have something a little special for our listeners.
Yeah, as you guys know, with what I do, I believe in education, but I believe in transformative experiences. And we have what's called Driven Doc Live coming up next month. And so this is an opportunity where our doctors come together. This one is focused on the front desk systems and data generated from those systems. So it's for practice owners, office managers, front desk team members, and also associate docs. We've got breakouts for all of them to help them know their numbers, to grow their numbers. We're going to show them the data. We're going to show them the newest and latest AI tools that are helping automate those systems and increase their capability to reach more patients. And I created a little gift that I'm giving away to the profession that's called an AI toolkit. The AI toolkit is a combination of my top three most powerful AI tools that I've built for my community, and I'm giving them to our entire profession for free. The first one is what we call a practice profit lever. It's an AI tool customized with my profit analysis of a practice. I can look at a practice's numbers and within 3 minutes tell you exactly where you're leaking money. I built that into a GPT now that you can download. You can answer a few questions and it will immediately start showing you how you can focus, where you need to focus on your practice to increase cash flow. The second one is an AI tool guide that's all the AI tools that you should be using on a regular basis in your practice to help you with marketing, to help you with sales, to help you with content creation, to help you with team training. It's an amazing guide that helps with that. And the third tool, I'm releasing the full tool at Driven Doc Live, but you get a taste of this tool, and it's a patient reactivation script generator. So your front desk can actually sit down with this script generator, again, answer a few questions, and it immediately gives them both the texting, email, and phone scripts that they can use to reactivate patients into their practice. It's incredible.
That,
And it's
that
free.
yeah, that is awesome. When AI started coming along, I mean, everybody thinks it's new, but it's not. It's been around for a long, long time. It's just finally gotten enough traction where it's kind of everywhere now. We also have an AI tool. It's called Chiro AI. It's available on our website. It's no charge. It doesn't take the, replace coaching. It doesn't replace. I want to say it doesn't replace anything that a human should be doing, but man, the data that you can get, like you said, the scripts and things of that nature, we're working way too hard to do that stuff. There's nothing worse than a blank piece of paper when you're trying to come up with an idea.
Yeah.
Just putting the key is though, you got to know how to put in the right prompts because otherwise it's garbage in, garbage out. Now you mentioned the events that are coming. Where are those going to be held, Cory?
Yeah, so Driven Duck Live is in Las Vegas, and we actually have reserved 35 tickets for doctors who aren't members who would love to come experience the Driven Duck movement. We have sold, I'm pretty sure 20 something, 20 tickets, somewhere in that range. We have a few left. If we'll give you the link or put the link below where they can go to gold.datadrivendoc.com/home. Again, I can give you the link. That gives them access to the AI toolkit for free, and then actually an opportunity to apply for a golden ticket. Again, this is you can come to Las Vegas with us for free and experience the Driven Doc movement for yourself.
Boy, you can't beat that. Truly a try before you buy, and you'll get to meet a lot of other successful doctors who are doing things the right way, no doubt. So I kind of think I already know the answer to this next question. Who's your hero and why?
Other than you, Ray, you are amazing what you've done for this profession.
Appreciate that. It's a labor of love.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at obviously my life story, how can I not say my dad? I mean, a World War II Silver Star recipient hero. I wouldn't be on this planet if he hadn't committed his skill set to chiropractic and taking care of my mom so that she could have the family that she wanted. I wouldn't be on my mission and my path if it wasn't for his influence. I mean, just I know a lot of people say they're dads, but man, I just can't even think about him without tearing up.
Yeah, I understand that. My mom and dad were both chiropractors and lost them in 21 in 2020 and the other one in 22. And it is, yeah, there's a saying, some things they don't get less painful, they just get more distant. But do everything you can to keep those of you that have lost, do everything you can to keep them alive. It keeps you connected with them.
Pick
What's
up.
the worst job you ever had?
Oh, I can give you a handful of those, but when I was a teenager, I was really blessed to have a best friend whose dad was vice president to a bank who wanted his son to learn some real estate and flipping properties. So I had saved up $5,000 from a newspaper paper route, right? That I was able to invest in this. We went and bought a house that he helped finance, brought in skilled people to teach us how to do certain things in the house that we would then do it. Anyway, we flipped that house and doubled our money from that, and then we went and bought a triplex. And so I went in to start gutting this triplex, and in there was a refrigerator that had uh, I mean, just covered inside with mold and food that had been left in there. So going into these houses and pulling out other people's garbage
Uh,
was rough.
yeah, that'd make you want to be a chiropractor one day.
I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait.
Last question I've got: what talent do you have that most people don't know about?
Oh, interesting question there. Oh, that most people don't know about. I mean, I don't know that most people know me these days, but I would say I love to cook. Love that creativity side of me. I can't paint, I can't draw, like, a stick figure is about as far as my art go, but I love to cook and plate. I love to make food beautiful. You taste
That's
it with your
awesome.
eyes first. But I get a little obsessed with my cooking.
Cory, I really appreciate you spending some time with us today. And as I've told people many times, the thing that I've enjoyed about having this company and starting the podcast is, we see each other at conventions and things like that, and you get 2 or 3 minutes to say hello, but you never really have the opportunity to go deep. And so I really appreciate your time today. It's been a joy to ask you these questions and hear some of the replies, and always good to find a kindred spirit on the same path. And thanks to everybody else attending the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If there are people you want to hear from in the future, be sure and shoot us an email and let us know. You can use info@chirohealthusa.com, and we'll do our best to deliver on those. Doctors, if you're offering discounts of any kind in your office, you need to make sure you're not violating your provider agreements, as well as state and federal rules and regulations on dual fee schedules, inducements, anti-kickback, all of which can lead to serious fines and penalties. We can help eliminate those concerns by using our profitable discount strategy, which ensures that any discount that you might be offering is 100% compliant and, most importantly, profitable. It all starts with a short phone call to find out if we can help you, like thousands of other doctors nationwide. Many of our doctors have seen a 20% increase in their revenue and a 50% retention of patients who are part of our network. And the best news is there's absolutely no cost for you to join the network. Over the last 17 years, over 7,000 chiropractors have helped 4.3 million patient family members get the care they need at a cost they can afford. If you want to increase your revenue, your retention, and practice with more peace of mind, give us a call at 888-719-9990 or visit our website at chusa.com, that's CHUSA, to find out why ChiroHealth USA is the network for chiropractic and you. Thanks, Cory. Really appreciate your time.
Amazing. Way to go, Ray. Keep
Uh,
up the great work.